Hello friends, welcome to Salesforce Semantics video session 127. So basically in today's video, we will actually walk through like how we can disconnect an object and again reconnect back. So we have understood like how some objects are there, how we can pull in the objects in the data sync and how we can then run the data layer, that is the recipe or data flow, and finally we can get the data set. Today we will do a reverse engineering. Today basically we will ensure how we can disconnect of an object if sometimes it's required to do so. Okay. So firstly, let me go to Analytics Studio. So in the Analytics Studio, the data manager, and finally the manage data flow. Now, for example, if I go to the connect, okay, and let's check which object I have not used till now. So there's an object called opportunity stage, as you can see here. Okay, maybe I can just run it very quickly once. Okay, that's fine. I can run the sync very quickly. Yeah, let's monitor this. So yeah, this sync ran successfully. And let's say I want to now disconnect this object. Okay. So what I can do is basically I can just go over here. There's an option which is known as the disconnect object. So if I just click over here, the disconnect object, and if I just click on, so one thing you can see, disconnect this object. You can't disconnect this object if it's referenced in a data flow or push data set recipe. Saved recipe fail when they run if they reference a disconnect object before you proceed remove the object SLTC digest node. So wherever you are using this particular object somewhere, you need to first of all remove the data flow. Okay. So for now, what I will do is I will just click on disconnect. Okay. Now, basically, it's saying that you can't disconnect this opportunity stage object because it's used in this sales stage ETLP data flow. Okay, so what I can do is I can go to this data flow, sales stage ETLP data flow, whatever it's there. Okay, for example, this one, and maybe I can just quickly take the stage, the extract opportunity stage. Okay, which is over here, and I see that it is being used in a uh, yeah, it's being used in quite a lot of, I mean, it's used in a lot of places in the lots of nodes. This is being referenced. Okay, if you can see over here, fine. So that's an issue. Like definitely it's being used in a lot of things. Maybe we can try with some other, or maybe I can delete this data flow, but yeah, that's fine. I can try with some other connect objects. Let's check what else is there. So we have opportunity stage, product, lead, event, record type. Okay. The record type, I'm not too sure where we are using, but we can check this as well once. So let's say I want to use the record type. Okay. Okay. We also have case history. Okay. We can also run this one, the case history. This is another object which we have. Yeah. Okay. So now let's see if I can remove the record type. Fine. And let me check if that can be done. So for the record type, if I just click on disconnect object and if I click on disconnect, that is also used in this data flow itself. Okay, let's check where is this used. Record type. Okay, I see this is being used over here, which is fine. Which is fine. I think maybe I can take a chance to remove that if required. Okay, this record type, but we can check with one more thing called case history. Let's see if this case history has run successfully, and maybe here in case history, I can just check if I can disconnect that object. So case history, let me go for disconnect object. Okay, as you can see, this object case history got disconnected. I'm not disturbing this data flow, but the case history object which was there, that got disconnected. Okay, and very quickly, let me just go to my data export, and maybe let me just query very quickly on the case history. Okay, and let me run the export. So these are all the records which I can see on case history. I don't see any name. Okay, maybe I can check the case dot name, and maybe I can check something like case ID, which is fine, and I can run the export. Okay. So, anyways, this case history is an object which I have disconnected right now. Okay. Now, what if I want to connect it back? So I can again go to connect to data once I disconnect it. Okay. I can, or rather, yeah, I can go to this connect to data. I can go to this part and I can search for case history over here somewhere. Yeah, it's a case history over here. Okay. And what I can do is I will just enable the case ID maybe. Okay. And maybe the data type. I think the data type has to be here, I guess. Yeah, the data type is there. Okay, cool. So I think I will just take this to one, which is the case ID and the data type. Okay. And maybe the created data as well, which is fine. And if I click on continue, again, I can connect this object, which is completely fine. And now what I'm going to do is this case history object, I will just run it once again. Let's monitor this as well. So now this case history ran successfully, and very quickly what I'm going to do is maybe I can name it as a free session 12 and bring the case history object. Okay, and just create a sample data set for this. Okay, so I will go to this add input. I will take into consideration the Salesforce object only, and here I will search for case history, which I can see it over here. Okay, yeah, so let me enable this case history, and yeah, I think whatever is there, that is fine. I will click on next, and very quickly I will just create a data set called case history data set. So here let me just very quickly write it as case history data set. I will copy the same name as well over here, and here I will just save it to my recipe data set. Click on apply, and I think that's it. I will click on save and run, and I will name it as, I hope this is the free session 22 only, because we have done the free session 21, which is fine. And I will click on save. And what we will do is we will just monitor this. Okay, whatever is the way it's running right now. So let's monitor this. So as you can see, this recipe ran successfully. And of course, here, if I now check for the case history, so I also get this data set, and here I can see that complete number. Okay, that is 1627, which is matching from here as well, which is fine. But the main intention why I wanted to show you this is, now if I want to disconnect that, okay, so basically let's say now if I go to my connect, and if I want to disconnect the case history object, so for example here if I click on this disconnect object, as you can see it's saying you can disconnect if it's within data flow, which is fine. So basically wherever this object is referenced, first you have to ensure you delete that, and then only that can be disconnected. So if I click on disconnect, okay, okay, that's quite strange. 1 minute, let's check this one. Okay, so I see the case history object that got disconnected from here. And now if I just go over here and maybe let me just check if this runs successfully or not. So now we'll monitor this. So as you can see here, like when you disconnect an object, right? If it is used in a recipe, what happens is by default, it gets changed to this cloud symbol. That means directly you are pulling the object. Okay. So in recipe, you get that flexibility where you can directly pull in the object if you disconnect any particular object from the data sync. Now we will check this same thing on the data flow side. Okay. So what we will do is very quickly, I will create one free session 16. Okay. Very quickly, I will create a data flow. Let me name it as free session 16. And I will go for an SFDC digest node. I will name it as case history. Okay, the object will be of course case history as well. Fine, and I will just quickly select the fields. Maybe I will select the case ID, and I think the data type, and maybe the ID as well. Okay, and let me click on create, and very quickly I will register the node. I will name it as case history dataset. The source nodes will be case history, of course, and click on create, update. And probably I will not run the data flow right now. What I will do is I will very quickly set up the connection also. So I will go to the connect. Okay, so the connection is already there, which is fine. I will very quickly run this thing. Okay, and finally, what I can do is I can run this particular data flow. Okay, so let me run the data flow as well. And now we will just monitor this real quickly. So yeah, this is running right now. Let's see. Okay, so as you can see, this now ran successfully. And what I will do is, again, I very quickly I will search that part over here, which is the case history. Let me refresh this as well. And let me search with case history. So I have this case. Let me check the name. What is that name which I have put over here in this? Okay, let me just check if I can search something in this regard. Okay, right now it's still coming from dataset. Let me go to the browse section, and let me go to maybe shared app. Maybe there I can search for it. So I will go to the dataset section. Now I will search for this case history dataset, which is not coming. I guess this ran successfully. Let's check this once if it runs successfully or not. Yeah, this ran successfully, but let me check why this is not coming up. Because this is for the recipe one. Let me refresh it one last time, and let's check why it's not coming now. Okay, I guess because the name is same. Okay, that's why it's showing as the recipe data set. Okay, but ideally that's the one. So what I can do is maybe I can change this name to something like dataset one, or something like here. Fine. But basically the idea is, which I wanted to explain you, that once you have this particular section, okay, so we can run this data flow, which is fine. But the idea is that in the connect tab, what happens is whenever you're disconnecting any object, if it is related to recipe, okay, and if that settings option is enabled, automatically that gets converted to direct pulling data. Okay, so you can directly pull the data if you just disconnect the object. But in case of data flow, even if it runs, if you want to disconnect right now, you have to remove it from the data flow. For example, if I just now click on disconnect, okay, and if I just click on this option of disconnect, right, you see it won't disconnect because it is being used in a data flow right now. So that's the idea. If it is used in a recipe, you disconnect the object. If that settings is enabled where you can pull the direct data source, it gets converted to a direct data source in the recipe side. But in case of data flow, you have to ensure you delete that data flow and then disconnect. Okay? That's it about this video. And yeah, we will meet very soon in our next one. Thank you.